The Alpha King didn't scream when enemies cut him down in war. He screamed during a ceremony meant to prove his power. Thousands of wolves watched as Cade, undefeated ruler of the Northern Territories, collapsed to his knees on his own marble dais, clutching his chest like something inside him had shattered. The crowd froze. The drums faltered. The sacred flames bent violently toward the stone circle. And it was happening because of the woman they were about to execute. Mara was already kneeling when the blade touched her throat. She was smiling. The executioner's hand trembled so badly the steel rang against her skin. He stared at her expression like it was a curse he didn't understand. No one begged at their own execution. No one smiled. Below the dais, frost-covered stone bit into Mara's knees. Her ceremonial white shift, meant to grant a condemned queen dignity in death, was black with mud from the outcast pits where they'd kept her for 3 months. Iron shackles had chewed her wrists raw. Her lips were cracked, bloodless. She should have been broken. She wasn't. Any last words, traitor? The executioner whispered, his voice barely holding. Mara lifted her gaze past him, past the nobles, past the wolves who'd once bowed to her, straight to the man who had sentenced her without trial. Cade met her eyes, and for the first time in 93 days, she saw him flinch. "I invoke the Rite of Mirroring," Mara said. The ancient words struck the air like thunder. An elder gasped. Another shouted a warning. Too late. Mara dragged her palm across the executioner's blade and slammed her bloodied hand against the sacred altar stone. The earth screamed. Or maybe that was Cade. The Alpha King convulsed, collapsing fully onto the dais as if every bone in his body had shattered at once, his roar tearing through the ceremony grounds while the ritual continued without his consent. And the pack had no idea the ceremony hadn't even reached its most dangerous part yet. Mara felt the scream too, the pull, the binding, the instant fusion of their life, forces through blood and stone and ancient magic that predated the first packs. But she'd prepared for this pain. He hadn't. The Rite of Mirroring was forbidden for a reason. It didn't kill. It reflected. Every wound she'd suffered in silence for 3 months, every lash, every hunger pain, every cold night in the pit, every humiliation, every moment of despair, slammed into Cade's nervous system all at once. He tried to stand. His legs buckled. He tried to shift. Nothing happened. His wolf was gone. No, not gone. Mara could feel it now, trapped behind a wall of her making, clawing frantically at a barrier only she could lower. "What?" Cade gasped, clutching his chest. His perfect composure shattered. His beta, Liam, rushed toward him, but Cade shoved him back with a snarl that came out broken. "What did you do?" Mara rose to her feet. The shackles fell from her wrists without her touching them. The blood magic recognized no chains but its own now. She stepped out of the claiming circle. The executioner stumbled backward. Every wolf in the ceremony ground felt it, the shift in power, the inversion of everything they thought they understood about their world. "I mirrored us," Mara said quietly. Her voice shouldn't have carried, but the rite amplified it, made it echo across the frozen field like a judgment. "Every ounce of suffering you allowed me to endure, you now feel. Every wound, every hunger, every moment you watched me bleed and did nothing." She took a step toward the dais. Cade tried to rise again and failed. "You wanted my submission, my king. You thought silence would break me." She smiled again. It was the smile of someone who'd found a weapon in her own agony. "But you gave me something far more valuable than mercy." She stopped at the base of his dais, looking up at the man who'd once made her believe in fated mates. "You gave me 3 months to remember the old laws you've forgotten." Cade's hand shot out, and for a second she thought he'd strike her, but his arm fell limp halfway through the motion. He couldn't even lift his hand without her permission now. "The bond," an elder's voice rang out from the crowd, thick with horror. "She's bound his wolf. She's taken his power." Mara finished. His healing, his shift, his command over the beast. She tilted her head. "Everything you are, Alpha King, now lives and dies by my mercy." The crowd erupted. Some wolves howled in outrage, others in fear. The nobles who'd whispered poison about her for months suddenly looked pale. But Cade's beta, Liam, loyal to a fault, stepped between them, his eyes wide but his stance protective. You've committed an act of blood treason, Liam said, though his voice shook. The council will do nothing, Mara interrupted, and her tone made Liam freeze. Because if I die, your Alpha dies. If I suffer, he suffers. And if I choose to let this bond consume us both. She let the threat hang. Cade finally managed to lift his head. His grey eyes, usually cold and calculating, were wild with something she'd never seen in him before. Fear. Why? He rasped. It was the first time he'd spoken directly to her since the accusations began. Mara crouched down so they were eye level. Because you need to feel what you've done, she whispered. And because the woman you planned to crown in my place, the noble woman who whispered in your ear, who convinced you I was a traitor, she's the one who sold your war plans to the Eastern clans. Cade went rigid. Chloe. He breathed the name like a curse. You're lying. Am I? Mara stood. Then ask her yourself. Ask her why the Eastern Alpha knew our defenses before we'd even finalized them. Ask her why her family's debts mysteriously vanished the same week our supply routes were ambushed. She turned to face the crowd. Chloe stood among the nobles, her face a perfect mask of shock and innocence. But her scent, gods, her scent was screaming guilt. And every wolf in the circle could smell it now. Prove it, Cade growled, trying once more to stand. He made it halfway before the phantom pain of Mara's broken ribs, courtesy of the guards he'd allowed to brutalize her, brought him back down. I can't prove it, Mara said simply. Not yet, but you will. Because now you have no choice. She started to walk away. Where are you going? Liam demanded. Mara paused. Nowhere. The bond keeps us tethered within a quarter mile, so I'll be in the castle, in your chambers, my king. She glanced back at Cade, still gasping on his dais. After all, you'll need me close, because until I choose to grant you relief, you'll feel every second of what I felt. You can't. I can. She met his eyes one last time. And I will. Because you taught me that mercy is weakness, that silence is compliance, that a king who allows his queen to suffer proves only that he doesn't deserve her. The words hit him like a physical blow. So here's your choice, Cade, she said softly. Hunt down the truth. Find the real traitor. Prove that you're worthy of the crown you're so desperate to keep. Or I let the bond consume us both. Her smile turned cold. And your dynasty ends with you, on your knees, in the mud, exactly where you left me. She walked away. And for the first time in his reign, Alpha King Cade had absolutely no power to stop her. Hey, beautiful souls. I need to pause here for just a moment. If you're listening to this from your car, your room, your quiet corner of the world, wherever you are right now, I want you to know I see you. This story we just started, it's about so much more than wolves and magic. It's about what happens when power forgets compassion. When silence is mistaken for weakness. When someone finally says, enough. Maybe you've felt small. Maybe someone made you believe your voice didn't matter. Mara just reminded us all what happens when the powerless find their power. So if you're with me, if you want to see where this goes, if you want to watch a king, learn what it costs to ignore suffering, hit that subscribe button. Because this journey is just beginning, and I promise you, by the end, you'll never look at power the same way again. Now, let's see what happens when a king can't escape the consequences of his cruelty. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment. I love knowing where this story finds you. And how are you doing today? Really, I hope you're taking care of yourself. Let's continue. Cade couldn't breathe. Not because his lungs had failed, because every breath Mara took in the royal chambers above him, he felt like an echo, shallow, controlled, deliberate. She was rationing air like she'd rationed hope in the pits. And now he understood why. Get up! Liam's hand was on his shoulder, trying to pull him to his feet. The council is waiting. They want answers. Cade shoved him off. Tell them their king is indisposed. The word tasted like poison. Indisposed. As if he were merely tired. As if his own wife hadn't just stripped him of everything that made him alpha, and left him gasping on sacred ground like a dying animal. He finally stood. His legs shook. The phantom sensation of starvation clawed at his gut, not his hunger, but hers, accumulated over 93 days of systematic deprivation. How had she survived this? How had she smiled? "We need to arrest her," Liam said quietly, "before the other packs hear about this, before they see weakness. They already see it." Cade's voice came out raw. "And if you touch her—" Liam went pale. "The bond is that strong." "Stronger." Cade started walking toward the castle, each step a war against his own body. "She didn't just mirror the pain. She chained my wolf to her will. I can't shift, can't heal, can't even feel him unless she allows it." "That's impossible," Cade laughed bitterly. "Tell that to the dozen elders who just watched it happen." They reached the castle doors. Inside, the nobles were scattering like prey, their whispered conversations dying the moment Cade appeared. He saw Chloe near the grand staircase. Their eyes met. She looked horrified, sympathetic, perfect. But her scent, gods, why hadn't he noticed before? Beneath the expensive perfume was something acrid, metallic. Fear. Not fear for him. Fear of being discovered. Mara's accusation replayed in his mind. She sold your war plans to the Eastern clans. He'd dismissed it as desperation, a final attempt to shift blame. But what if— "My king," Chloe approached, her hand extended as if to comfort him. "This is unthinkable." "Don't touch me." The words came out sharper than he intended. She froze. "Cade, I'm only trying to help. Are you?" He studied her face, the face he'd nearly chosen over his fated mates. "Where were you the night the Eastern clans ambushed our northern supply route?" Well, her expression didn't change, but her heartbeat did. He heard it spike, stumble, race. I was in the capital, attending Lady Ivy's engagement ball. You know this." "Liam." Cade didn't take his eyes off Chloe. "Send riders to question every attendee of that ball. I want a list of everyone who saw her there by dawn." Chloe's composure cracked. "Just a hairline fracture. This is ridiculous. You're in pain. You're not thinking clearly." "I'm thinking clearly for the first time in months." He stepped closer. "You wanted me to believe Mara was a traitor. You brought me evidence, letters, witness statements, all perfectly timed to turn me against my own mate. Because she was guilty. Then prove it." His voice dropped to something dangerous. "Because right now, the only person whose story doesn't add up is you." Chloe's face went white, then red. Then she did something that confirmed everything. She ran. Not toward the council chambers to demand a fair hearing, not toward her family's wing to gather proof of innocence. She ran toward the eastern exit, the one that led to the border gates. "Stop her!" Cade roared. But his body betrayed him. The moment he tried to shift, tried to channel his alpha command, the bond crushed him. He fell to one knee, gasping, while Chloe disappeared into the corridor. Liam's wolves gave chase, but Cade knew they'd be too late. And then he felt it, a tug on the bond, deliberate, controlled. Mara was pulling him toward her, not physically, emotionally, like a leash around his soul. He had no choice but to obey. His feet moved without his permission, carrying him up the grand staircase, down the hall, straight to his own chambers, where Mara stood by the window, watching Chloe's escape with an expression that made his blood run cold. "You let her run," Cade said. "I did." "Why?" Mara turned to face him. In the afternoon light, he could finally see what 3 months had done to her. The hollows under her eyes. The way her dress hung on a frame that had once been soft and strong. "Because running proves guilt," she said simply. "And because you need to understand something, Cade." She crossed the room, stopped inches from him. "I didn't bind you to destroy you," she whispered. "I bound you to save you. From yourself, from the poison in your court, from becoming the kind of king who kills his own queen because someone pretty whispered lies." Her hand rose. He flinched, but she only placed her palm against his chest, right over his heart. The bond sang, and for one impossible moment, he felt his wolf again, distant, but there, howling in recognition of its mate. Then she pulled her hand away, and the connection severed like a blade. "Chloe's not working alone," Mara said. "And the real traitor? They're still here, still watching, still waiting for you to execute me so they can finish what they started." "Who?" Her smile was sad, almost pitying. "That's what you need to find out, my king. Before the bond kills us both." She walked past him toward the door. "Where are you going?" "To rest. The rite takes a toll on both of us. You'll feel it soon." She paused in the doorway. "Oh, and Cade? When the pain gets unbearable tonight, when you're begging for relief, remember that I begged too. And you ignored me." The door closed, and Cade was alone with the chains his own cruelty had forged. The pain hit at midnight. Cade woke up screaming, not from a nightmare, from the bond remembering every lash Mara had endured in the outcast pits, replaying them across his back in perfect, agonizing detail. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything except claw at the sheets and pray for death. The door slammed open. Mara stood there in a sleeping gown, her expression unreadable. "Please," he gasped. The word tasted like broken glass. "Make it stop." "No." She said it so calmly, so coldly. "You need to feel this, all of it, because tomorrow you hunt." "I can't." Another wave of phantom agony cut him off. "I can't even stand." "You will." She crossed the room, and for a moment he thought she'd show mercy. Instead, she knelt beside the bed and looked him dead in the eyes. "Because Chloe's not running to the Eastern clans. She's running to whoever hired her, and if you don't find them before they find me, we both die." That cut through the pain. "What? The rite has a flaw." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "If the one who invoked it dies by another's hand within 7 days, the bond doesn't just break, it detonates. Every ounce of shared suffering explodes outward, killing the bound partner instantly." Cade's blood turned to ice. "You didn't mention that. Because you needed to feel helpless first, to understand what I've lived with for 3 months, the constant knowledge that any moment could be my last." She stood. "Now you have 6 days to find the traitor. 6 days before they realize killing me is easier than fighting you. Who is it?" "I don't know their name, but I know their scent." Mara's eyes gleamed with something dangerous. "I smelled it on the letters Chloe planted in my chambers. The same scent that was on your war plans the night they were stolen. Then track them. I can't leave the castle grounds without you. The bond keeps us tethered, remember?" She tilted her head. "So here's your choice, my king. Stay here and let the pain consume you, or get up, hunt with me, and prove you're more than the coward who let his mate rot." He wanted to hate her for the manipulation. But gods, she was magnificent. "Help me up," he said through gritted teeth. She didn't move. "Say please." The word hung between them like a blade. He'd never said please to anyone. Not in 200 years. "Please," Cade whispered. Mara's hand closed around his. The moment their skin touched, the pain receded, not gone, but bearable, like she was shouldering half the weight. He stood, barely. "The scent," he managed. "Where do we start?" "The council chambers. Whoever did this has access to your inner circle. They're not some hired assassin. They're someone you trust." The implication made him sick. "Liam?" "No. His loyalty is real. But someone close to him." She pulled him toward the door. "Someone who benefits from you being distracted by a beautiful liar while the real kingdom crumbles." They made it halfway down the hall before Liam appeared, blood on his hands. Cade's wolf tried to surge forward, failed. "Report," Cade barked. "We caught Chloe at the eastern border." Liam's expression was grim. She had documents, encrypted messages, and a vial of wolfsbane concentrate, enough to kill an alpha. "For me?" "No." Liam's gaze shifted to Mara. "For her. The orders were explicit. Kill the queen before the 7th day." Mara didn't even flinch. "Who gave the orders?" "She won't say. But she's terrified. Whoever it is, they have something on her. Something worse than death." "Her family," Mara said quietly. They're hostages, aren't they? Liam nodded. Her younger brother. Disappeared 3 months ago, the same week she started bringing evidence against you. Cade's mind raced. So someone kidnapped her brother, forced her to frame Mara, and now wants Mara dead before the bond can be broken properly. Someone who knows the old laws, Mara added. Someone who understands blood magic well enough to know the 7-day window. That narrows it to the elders, Liam said. Or someone they taught. Cade's voice hardened. Where's Elder Theo? He's the only one who wasn't at the ceremony today. Liam's face went white. He sent word he was ill, resting in the explosion rocked the eastern tower. Flames erupted into the night sky. And Cade knew, with absolute certainty, that Elder Theo had just destroyed every piece of evidence that could tie him to treason. He's running, Mara breathed. No, Cade pulled her closer, ignoring the pain screaming through his body. He's eliminating witnesses. Liam's radio crackled. A guard's panicked voice. The prisoner's dead! Chloe's throat was slit. Someone got to her cell. The message cut off. And Cade realized they weren't hunting a traitor anymore. They were being hunted. Elder Theo's chambers were empty, but the bodies weren't. 2 guards lay dead outside his door. Their throats opened with surgical precision. No struggle, no defensive wounds. They'd trusted whoever killed them. He had help, Mara whispered, crouching beside the nearest corpse. Someone these men would never suspect. Cade's stomach turned. Another elder? Or someone wearing their face? She touched the guard's neck, and her fingers came away with something that made her go rigid. Cade, smell this. He leaned down. The scent hit him like a punch. Familiar. Wrong. Impossible. That's your scent, Mara finished. Someone's been using alpha pheromone powder, masking themselves as you to move through the castle freely. The implications crashed over him. How many orders had been given in his name? How many guards had followed commands from someone wearing his scent? How long had he been a puppet in his own kingdom? The ceremony, he said slowly. When you were arrested, I never gave that order directly. My beta received it through a written decree. Liam appeared in the doorway, his face ashen. Sealed with your mark. I never questioned it, because the scent was right. The seal was perfect, and you'd been so. Distant, Cade finished bitterly, distracted by Chloe. Exactly as they planned. Mara stood. Theo's not working alone. He's the front, but someone else is pulling strings. Someone who's been systematically isolating you, turning you against me, positioning themselves to... The floor beneath them exploded. Not fire. Silver dust erupted from hidden vents, flooding the chamber with toxic metal particles that burned werewolf lungs like acid. Cade couldn't breathe, couldn't shift. The bond kept his wolf locked away, and without it, he was just a man suffocating on weaponized silver. Mara grabbed his arm. Move. They ran, but the hallway was filling too. Silver mist poured from every vent, every crack, turning the castle into a death trap designed specifically for wolves. They're forcing us into the open, Liam coughed, his eyes streaming, herding us. To the throne room, Mara said. It's the only chamber with the old ventilation system, the one that predates modern construction. That's where they want us, Cade gasped. I know. Her grip tightened. But we're dead if we stay here. They had no choice. The throne room doors loomed ahead, massive, ancient, already standing open like a mouth waiting to swallow them. The silver mist stopped at the threshold. Someone wanted them alive. For now, they crossed into the chamber. The doors slammed shut behind them with the finality of a grave closing, and Elder Theo stepped out from behind the throne. But he wasn't alone. Cade's heart stopped. Standing beside the elder, smiling with perfect, poisonous calm, was someone who'd sworn loyalty to Cade 20 years ago, someone who'd fought beside him, bled beside him, his second beta, his childhood friend. Nathan. Hello, brother, Nathan said softly. The word hit Cade like betrayal given form. They weren't blood brothers, but they'd been raised together, trained together. Nathan had been at his coronation, had sworn the sacred oaths. Why? The question came out broken. Nathan's smile widened. Because you were never supposed to be king. He moved. Fast. Too fast. A blade appeared in his hand, not silver, but something darker, older. The metal sang with blood magic that made Cade's instincts scream. Nathan wasn't aiming for Cade. He was aiming for Mara. And Cade realized, with horrible clarity, that Nathan had been counting on something crucial, that Cade was too weak from the bond to fight back, too crippled by phantom pain to stop him. The blade descended. Mara didn't move, because she was waiting to see what Cade would do, if he'd finally choose her over his pride. Time fractured. Cade threw himself between them. The blade meant to kill his mate plunged into his chest instead. And the bond screamed. The blade should have killed him. It didn't, because the moment it touched Cade's heart, the bond inverted. Every ounce of Mara's accumulated suffering, the starvation, the beatings, the 93 days of agony, flooded out of Cade's body and slammed back into Nathan's. The second beta screamed, his perfect composure shattered as he collapsed, convulsing, the cursed blade clattering from his hand. Mara caught Cade before he hit the ground. "What did you do?" "Chose you," he gasped. Blood stained his lips. "Finally chose. You idiot." But her hands were gentle as she pressed against the wound. "The bond doesn't work that way. You can't just redirect." "I can." Elder Theo's voice cut through the chaos, and for the first time, he sounded afraid. "The Rite of Mirroring has a fail-safe. If the bonded king willingly takes a death blow meant for his queen, the bond recognizes true sacrifice." "And?" Mara demanded. "And it releases the wolf." Theo backed toward the door. "Congratulations, my queen. You just gave him back everything you took." Cade felt it. His wolf surging forward, his power flooding back, the phantom pain vanishing like it had never existed. He could shift, heal, kill. But Nathan was already moving despite his agony, reaching for something in his coat. "No." Elder Theo's shout came too late. Nathan pulled a vial of black liquid and hurled it at the throne. Not poison. Something worse. The ancient stone cracked, split, and from the fissure, a smell erupted that made every wolf in the room recoil in primal terror. Old magic. Death magic. Blood oath, binding. "You hid it in the throne." Theo's face went white. "You mad fool. That's our entire bloodline." "Exactly." Nathan laughed through his pain. "Every alpha sworn to this throne for 300 years is bound to that stone, and when it shatters completely, every single one of them dies. Including you, Cade." The cracks were spreading. "How long?" Cade growled. "Minutes. Maybe less." Nathan struggled to his feet, still shaking from the bond's backlash. "Unless you can find the counterseal before the stone breaks. But it's hidden somewhere in this castle, and you have no idea." "The Luna's crown," Mara whispered. Everyone froze. "What?" Cade turned to her. "The counterseal. It's in my crown, the one your mother wore, the one you locked away after she died because you couldn't bear to look at it." Her eyes met his. "The crown that's been sitting in the royal vault for 20 years, sealed behind blood-locked doors that only you can open." Nathan's expression shifted. How do you... "Because your mother told me." Mara stood, still holding Cade's wound closed with one hand. "Before she died. She knew someone would try this eventually. She made me promise to remember where she hid the failsafe." "My mother spoke to you?" Cade's voice cracked. "When?" "The night I was arrested. She came to me in the pits." Mara's smile was sad. "Didn't you wonder why I survived 3 months of starvation? Why I had the strength to invoke the right?" "She was dead," Cade breathed. "Her body was. But the Luna bond doesn't end at death. Not for true queens." Mara touched his chest, right over his healing wound. "She's been protecting me this whole time, waiting for you to remember what she taught you about real power." The throne cracked again, louder. "Run!" Nathan snarled. "Even if you reach the vault, you'll never break the seal in time. I made sure of that." "You changed the locks," Liam realized. 3 days ago. Nathan's smile was vicious. While Cade was busy hating his mate, I rewrote every blood ward in the castle. The vault won't open for him anymore. But it will for me, Mara said quietly. Cade's heart stopped. What? Your mother didn't just protect me. She transferred the lunar seal to me before she died, made me the true heir to the crown's power. Mara met his eyes. The vault will open for a living queen, not a guilt-ridden king. Then go. Cade pushed her toward the door. She didn't move. The wound. If I let go, you'll bleed out before I get back. I'll heal. Not fast enough. The blade was cursed. It's stopping your regeneration. Her jaw tightened. So here's your choice, my king. I can stay and watch you die slowly, or I can run for the vault and hope you survive long enough for me to save everyone else. The throne cracked again. They had seconds. Go, Cade whispered. Cade. Go. He pulled her hand away from the wound. Blood poured fresh and hot. Save them. Save the bloodline. I'll hold on. Mara's eyes filled with something that looked like grief. Or love. Promise me, she said. What? Promise me you'll fight, that you won't give up just because you think you deserve to die for what you did to me. He couldn't speak, could barely breathe. She leaned down and kissed him, quick, desperate. Promise, she repeated against his lips. I promise. She ran. And Cade was left bleeding on the floor of his throne room, watching the stone that held his entire bloodline's fate splinter apart. Second by terrible second. That choice Mara just made. That's the moment that separates queens from victims. When the person who suffered chooses to save the one who caused their suffering, not because they're weak, but because they're stronger than the cycle of pain. Some of you right now are facing that choice. Someone hurt you, and you have the power to hurt them back, or to break the pattern entirely. Mara just showed us what real strength looks like. So, if you're still with me, if this story is hitting you somewhere deep, hit that subscribe button, because we're about to find out if love is stronger than vengeance. If a king who finally learned to choose his queen can survive long enough to deserve her, what would you do? Stay and watch him suffer, or run to save everyone else? Drop your answer in the comments. I want to know. Now let's see if Mara makes it in time. Mara ran, but the castle was collapsing. Not metaphorically, literally crumbling as the throne stone's death magic rippled outward, fracturing every blood-sealed wall and foundation tied to the Alpha bloodline. The floor split beneath her feet. She jumped, barely made it. Behind her, she heard Liam shouting orders to evacuate, but his voice was drowned by the sound of ancient stone screaming as it died. The vault was 3 floors down. She had maybe 2 minutes before Cade bled out. Less before the throne killed everyone. She hit the stairs and nearly collided with Nathan. He'd followed her. You won't make it, he said, blocking her path. Blood still dripped from his nose from the bond's backlash, but his eyes were clear, determined. Even if you reach the vault, the crown's power is dormant. It takes a full moon ritual to activate the counter seal. You're lying. Am I? His smile was broken glass. Why do you think I chose tonight? New moon, no lunar power, no salvation. Mara's heart stopped. He was right. The crown needed moonlight to activate ancient magic. Every wolf child knew that. And tonight, the sky was black. So what now? She whispered. We all die because you wanted a throne? I wanted justice. Nathan's voice cracked. Cade's father killed mine, took credit for his victories, erased his name from history, and when my father threatened to expose him, he had him executed for treason. The words hit like a physical blow. The same crime you framed me for, Mara breathed. Poetic, isn't it? Nathan's laugh was bitter. I was going to let Cade live, rule as a puppet, while I controlled everything from the shadows. But then you invoked the right and gave him back his conscience. His expression hardened. So now he dies. You all die. And I'll rebuild from the ashes with the Eastern clans. You'll die too. You're bound to the throne by Beta oath. Not anymore. He pulled back his sleeve. The oath mark was gone, burned away, leaving a twisted scar. I broke it 3 days ago. Paid the price in blood and sanity. I'm free. The ceiling above them groaned. Mara tried to run past him. He caught her arm. There's another way. She froze. What? The bond. You're still connected to Cade, even though his wolf is free. If you die, the connection severs completely, and the throne magic loses its primary anchor. His grip tightened. One death saves hundreds. You want me to kill myself? I want you to choose. Die a hero, or watch everyone you love crumble to dust because you're too selfish to let go. The vault door was visible now, just down the corridor. So close. So impossibly far. There's a third option, Mara said quietly. What? She slammed her forehead into his nose. Nathan staggered back, cursing, and she ran. Hit the vault door, pressed her palm to the seal. It recognized her instantly, lunar magic singing through her veins, her mother-in-law's final gift proving itself real. The door opened. Inside, on a pedestal of moonstone, sat the crown. Beautiful, deadly, dark. Because Nathan was right. Without moonlight, it was just metal and gems, powerless. Mara grabbed it anyway. Felt its weight, its history, every queen who'd worn it, every sacrifice they'd made. And then she felt something else. A pull. Not from the crown. From the bond, Cade was dying. She could feel his heartbeat slowing, his consciousness fading. He was keeping his promise, fighting to survive, but the cursed blade was winning. She had seconds to choose. Stay here and try to activate a powerless crown, or run back to him and watch him die in her arms while the castle killed everyone else. There was no good option, no clever solution. Just impossible choices and the weight of a crown that couldn't save anyone. Mara closed her eyes, and made a decision that would either doom them all or prove that some magic doesn't need the moon. It needs something darker, something older. Blood. She raised the crown to her head and slammed it down so hard the thorns embedded in its base pierced her skull. Pain exploded through Mara's skull. But pain she understood. Pain she'd mastered in the pits. The crown's thorns dug deeper, drinking her blood, and suddenly the vault blazed with light. Not moonlight, but something older, something that came from inside her own veins. Blood magic. The crown didn't need the moon. It needed a queen willing to bleed for her people. The light shot through the castle like a shockwave, racing along every bloodline connection, every oath-bound stone, seeking the fractured throne. In the throne room, Cade felt it. The warmth, the power, the unmistakable sensation of his mate burning herself alive to save him. No, he gasped, trying to stand. Mara, no. But the magic was already working. The throne stone stopped cracking. The death curse reversed, sealing instead of shattering, pulling the scattered pieces back together with threads of lunar power that glowed like veins of molten gold. Nathan screamed in rage. What did you do? He sprinted toward the vault, but Liam tackled him, both wolves crashing through debris. In the vault, Mara fell to her knees. The crown was drinking too much, too fast. She could feel her life draining into it, feeding the counterseal, holding back 300 years of death magic with nothing but her will and blood. It wasn't enough. She was dying. And then she felt him. Cade. Not through the bond that had broken when his wolf returned. Through something deeper. The mate connection. The soul-deep recognition that had existed before the rite, before the accusations, before everything went wrong. Hold on, his voice whispered through that connection. I'm coming. You can't, she said aloud, even though he couldn't hear her. The curse will kill you if you move. But Cade had never been good at following orders, especially hers. In the throne room, he stood. The cursed blade's poison screamed through his veins, but he shoved the pain down with brutal alpha will and ran. Liam tried to stop him. You'll die before you reach her. Then I die. Cade's voice was steel. But I won't let her burn alone. He made it 3 steps before his legs gave out. 5 steps before his vision went black. 7 steps before his heart stopped. And then something impossible happened. The mate bond, the real one, not the rite's artificial chain, reignited, because Mara, bleeding in the vault, made a choice. She stopped trying to save everyone, and focused every ounce of remaining power on saving him. The crown's magic split. Half continued holding the throne, half shot through the castle, found Cade's dying body, and wrapped around his heart like a lifeline. The cursed blade's poison dissolved, his wound sealed, his heart restarted. But in the vault, Mara's light was dimming. The crown demanded balance, life for life, power for power. She'd saved him. Now she was paying the price. Cade felt her fading and roared. His wolf surged forward, fully healed, fully restored, and he shifted mid-run, racing through corridors as a massive silver wolf, following the mate bond like a beacon. He reached the vault in seconds, shifted back, crashed through the door. Mara looked up at him, the crown still embedded in her skull, blood streaming down her face, her eyes barely focused. "You're alive," she whispered. "So are you." He fell to his knees beside her. "And you're staying that way. The crown won't let go. It needs a Luna's blood to hold the seal. Then it can have mine too." Before she could stop him, Cade pressed his palms against the crown's thorns. His blood joined hers. And the crown sang, because it had never needed just a queen. It needed a king and queen, together, united. The magic stabilized instantly. The drain on Mara stopped. The throne's seals solidified. And in that moment, sharing blood and pain and power, they both understood what Cade's mother had been trying to teach them all along. A kingdom doesn't survive on strength. It survives on sacrifice. "Nathan," Mara said suddenly, her eyes clearing. "He's going to—" The vault door slammed shut, locked from the outside. Nathan's voice echoed through the stone. "Touching, really. But you've made a critical error." Cade's blood ran cold. "What did you do? The throne is sealed. You're both alive, which means I can't win." Nathan's laugh was unhinged. "So I'm changing the game. The Eastern clans are already at the border. I signaled them the moment the throne cracked. They'll be here in minutes." "You're starting a war," Liam's voice cut in, horrified. "I'm ending a dynasty," Nathan corrected. "Goodbye, brother. Die knowing you were right. I was always the better choice." Footsteps retreated, and Cade realized they were trapped in a sealed vault while an army descended on a castle full of civilians who trusted their king to protect them. The vault door was 6 inches of blood-sealed iron, unbreakable, except Mara was still wearing the crown, and the crown answered to Luna magic, not locks. "Can you stand?" Cade asked, helping her remove the thorned metal from her skull. The wound sealed instantly, his alpha healing now flowing through their renewed mate bond. "Can you fight?" she countered. His wolf snarled in answer. "Then let's show Nathan why you don't trap a king and queen together." She pressed her bloodied palm against the vault door. "You give them time to become dangerous." The iron melted, not from heat, from pure Luna authority rewriting the rules of what was possible. They stepped through. The castle was chaos. Wolves were evacuating civilians. Guards were scrambling to defensive positions, and through the eastern windows, Mara could see torches, hundreds of them, moving toward the castle like a tide of fire. Nathan stood in the main hall, directing the defense, playing the loyal beta, until he saw them. His face went white. "You can't be. Alive? Free? Coming for you?" Cade's voice was death itself. "Choose one." Nathan shifted instantly, a massive black wolf lunging for Mara's throat. But Cade was faster. He met Nathan mid-air, and the 2 wolves crashed through the hall in a blur of fangs and fury. Liam appeared at Mara's side. "The Eastern clans, they're not attacking." "What?" "They're waiting, like they're expecting something." His eyes narrowed. "Or someone." Mara's mind raced. Nathan had signaled them, but they weren't advancing. Why? Unless they're waiting for proof Cade is dead, she breathed. Nathan promised them a kingless territory, easy conquest. "So we show them their king is very much alive," Liam said. "No," Mara grabbed his arm. "We show them something better." She ran toward the eastern ramparts. Behind her, Cade and Nathan's fight was destroying the hall, neither giving ground, both fighting with centuries of betrayal, fueling every strike. But Mara had a different battle to win. She reached the ramparts. Below, the Eastern Alpha stood at the head of his army, waiting. Mara didn't hesitate. She placed the lunar crown on her head, let her blood activate its power, and commanded the ancient magic to amplify her voice across the entire battlefield. Eastern Alpha, her voice rang out like thunder. You were promised a dead king and a fractured kingdom. The army stirred, but you were lied to. She raised her hand, and lunar magic blazed around her like a second sun. Your ally, Nathan, is a traitor who murdered his own packmates, framed his queen, and shattered sacred oaths for power. Lies! Nathan's howl came from inside the castle. Then let the ancestors judge. Mara slammed her palm against the rampart stone, and every wolf who died by Nathan's hand for the past 3 months appeared. Not as ghosts, as witnesses. Lunar magic made their final moments visible. Chloe's murder, the guards Nathan had killed, even his own father's execution decades ago, revealing the truth Cade's father had tried to hide. The Eastern Alpha watched in silence. Then slowly, deliberately, he raised his hand. His army stopped. We were promised a weak kingdom, he called out. But I see a queen who commands death itself, and a king worth following. He turned to his wolves. We did not come to conquer. We came to test, and they have passed. The army began to withdraw. Nathan's roar of rage shook the castle. Inside, he disengaged from Cade and bolted, not toward escape, but toward Mara. One final desperate gamble. If he couldn't have the throne, he'd take the queen. He shifted mid-run, becoming human again, a blade appearing in his hand, the same cursed weapon he'd used on Cade. Aimed at Mara's heart. Cade was too far, too slow. But Mara wasn't the helpless queen he remembered. She'd survived the pits, invoked ancient magic, bled for her people. She didn't flinch, didn't run. She caught his wrist, and the lunar crown pulsed. Nathan screamed as the magic judged him, reading every crime, every betrayal, every life he'd destroyed. The blade fell from his hand. You wanted justice for your father, Mara said softly. But this isn't justice. This is revenge. And revenge only destroys the person seeking it. He took everything from me, and you became worse than him. She released his wrist. So here's your choice, Nathan. Face trial before the assembled clans and speak your truth. Or run and prove you were never worthy of what you sought. Nathan looked at Cade. At the wolves gathering. At the justice he'd twisted into hatred. And ran. Liam's guards moved to chase, but Cade raised his hand. Let him go. He'll come back, Liam warned. Maybe. Cade moved to Mara's side, his hand finding hers. But not tonight, and when he does, he'll find a kingdom united, a king who learned to listen, and a queen who taught him that real power isn't control. He looked at Mara. It's choosing to protect what you love, even when it costs you everything. 3 days after Nathan fled, Mara stood in the rebuilt throne room and realized she was still afraid. Not of Cade, of trusting him. The council wants to formalize your coronation, he said, approaching carefully, like she might bolt. Make you lunar in law, not just magic. And if I refuse, the old Cade would have commanded, demanded. This one just looked tired. Then I find another way to prove you're safe here. I'm not safe anywhere. The words came out sharper than intended. You let them torture me for 3 months. A crown doesn't erase that. No. He stopped a few feet away. Nothing does, which is why I'm not asking you to forgive me. That caught her off guard. What? I'm asking you to let me earn the right to ask. He knelt. Not the performative kneel of a king before his court. The real kind. Vulnerable. Human. Every day. For as long as it takes. Mara's throat tightened. You can't just... I can't undo it. Can't take back the nights you spent freezing in the pits while I slept in silk. Can't unhear the screams I ignored. His voice cracked. But I can make sure it never happens again. To you, or anyone. How? By changing the laws. No more accusations without trial. No more solitary confinement. No more alpha authority overriding basic rights. He pulled a scroll from his coat. I've already drafted it. Liam's reviewing it. The council votes tomorrow. She took the scroll. Read it. It wasn't performative. It was systematic dismantling of every law that had enabled her suffering. They'll fight you on this, she said. Let them. His eyes met hers. I spent 2 centuries building power. Time I spent it protecting people instead. Something in her chest cracked. Not breaking, opening. The bond, she said quietly. It's still there, even though the rite ended. I know. Do you want it gone? Cade's laugh was soft, broken. I want you to have the choice I stole from you. If you want the mate bond severed, I'll find a way. If you want me gone from your life entirely, I'll abdicate and leave you this kingdom. You'd give up your throne? I'd give up anything to stop causing you pain. He stood slowly. But what I want, what I'll fight for if you let me. What? The chance to be the mate you deserved from the beginning, the one who protects instead of punishes, who listens instead of commands. He took a careful step closer. Who kneels when you need him to kneel and stands when you need him to fight? Mara's eyes burned. That's going to take time. I have time. And effort. I have that too. And you have to actually mean it, not just when the council's watching. Especially when they're not watching. His hand rose, then stopped halfway, waiting for permission. She gave it. His palm cupped her cheek, and the mate bond sang, not with magical compulsion, but with genuine recognition of 2 souls choosing each other despite everything. I'm still angry, she whispered. You should be. And scared. I'll prove you're safe. Every day, even from me. And if I can't fully trust you for years, then I'll spend years earning it. His forehead touched hers. Because you were right. A king who lets his queen bleed doesn't deserve his crown. But a man who learns to kneel before the woman he failed. What about him? He gets to become someone worth loving. Mara closed her eyes. And for the first time in 3 months, she let herself believe that maybe, someday, she could feel safe again. Not because the danger was gone, but because she'd learned to turn suffering into power, silence into revolution, and chains into freedom. And the king had learned that real strength wasn't commanding obedience. It was earning trust after breaking it. Together, they'd rebuild a kingdom where queens were protected, not punished, and kings remembered that crowns were responsibilities, not rights. It wouldn't be easy, but nothing worth having ever was. This story is about what happens when someone finally refuses to be invisible, when the silenced find their voice, when suffering transforms into strength instead of bitterness. Maybe you've been where Mara was, dismissed, disbelieved, made small by someone who was supposed to protect you. Maybe you're still there. If that's you, I need you to hear this. Your pain is not your weakness. Your voice is not too loud. And choosing to survive is the bravest thing you'll ever do. Cade had to lose everything to learn what mattered. But you don't have to wait for someone else to change. Your power is already yours. You just have to decide to use it. If this story moved you, if Mara's journey reminded you of your own strength, hit that subscribe button. Because these stories, they're love letters to everyone who refused to stay broken. And I want to keep writing them for you. Now click that video on your screen. There's another story waiting. Another queen finding her power. Another lesson hiding in the magic. Thank you for being here. For listening. For surviving. You're stronger than you know.